Previously on XenoChat, Justin and I sat down with Pure to discuss the Xeno series. Our conversation went on far longer than we expected, so here is the second part of our conversation.
I guess we'll talk. I don't have too much to say about the original Xenoblade, just because it's been a long time since I played it. I think that's the longest I've been without playing any of those games.
Same. It's been a while for me too.
Yeah, I was playing it maybe a year ago. I was doing a new playthrough, but I never ended up finishing it. At least that playthrough. I finished the game, just not that playthrough.
You scared me for a second. I was like, what are you doing here?
No, I've definitely played the first one. And believe me, I have a lot to say about that one, but it's just that I was replaying it like about a year ago. I don't know. I was just doing some whatever on the Wii U. And I just never got around to finishing that playthrough. I need to do that one of these days.
I was getting a little nervous. I was about to crack open a big load of spoilers, so I didn't even realize it. Yeah, you look at the original Xenoblade, and then you look at Xenoblade X. It's like a total shift in so many things there. Like Xenoblade X.
Oh yeah.
You could argue it's not even a Xenoblade game. He just kind of gave it the name. But and then you go to Xenoblade 2, which is even more different. The difference between that and Xenoblade X is greater than the one from the first Xenoblade and Xenoblade X in terms of tone and all that stuff. It's kind of jarring.
Oh yeah, going to X was, it was so jarring in comparison to the original Xenoblade. It was ridiculous.
and then going to 2 from X.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you had just finished playing Xenoblade X and you're gonna go play Xenoblade 2, it's like how do you tell someone that doesn't know any better that this is technically speaking the same franchise? Like, I mean, if you made a hack and the game was never called Xenoblade X, they would never guess that they're meant to be like the same IP.
Mm-mm.
Other than like some vague little references and stuff like that, then you'd be same director. It'd be like if it's almost like if Space Dandy was called Cowboy Bebop X. It's like they're completely different shows, but you have the same director and you kind of see little things here and there. That's like Xenoblade X and Xenoblade 2. Like they're so different. It's so jarring. But I think that's kind of like how he works. He just likes to do whatever he wants, and I think that's great. I just think it makes him. If you had your fans looking forward to another game with a certain feel to it, and then he announces something else, I think some people tend to get a little upset. He has a tendency of unintentionally dividing his own fan base. But I guess I should say how I got into Xenoblade. I never even did that. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I the first time I heard about it was when it was called Monado: Beginning of a New World, and I did not know it was by Takahashi, and I didn't know it was by Model Self either. Yeah, when I first heard of this game, I thought it had the most boring title ever.
Same.
And it had a really boring logo too. Like it doesn't even. I feel like it doesn't fit in hindsight. It looks like something for like a I don't know, a Jurassic themed game.
Yeah, it was really bad. I remember looking on Amazon at the time and seeing like the pre-orders for it.
Yeah.
And just being like, "What is this game? This looks stupid."
It's I just see the game and I'm like, is this blonde guy with a sword? Is he gonna go fighting? Is he in the Jurassic era? Is that what this is? Like, with some robots? Is he going to go fight some dinosaurs? Like, I mean, because I'm all about that. It's just, you need a better title. That sounds great, actually. It's just, it's just weird. It's just, but I kind of forgot about it completely after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a long time for me to even, like, think about it again. Like, by the time I started thinking about the game again, not only was it already called Xenoblade, it was called Xenoblade, but it was already out in Japan. I didn't even think about it till then. Again, still didn't know it was with Takahashi. Has a Xeno name in it. Again, for all you people out there that think I was there when it happened, and I was in whatever office that they were primarily using to make that game. I was just had my arms wrapped around Takahashi, had his around mine. We were just whispering our plans, and it was all my idea that I made the game because I don't know where you people get this from, but it didn't happen. I had never even heard of it. That's how out of it I was. So, I didn't play it till it came out in America, so that's one thing. It was, people's probably think I played the Japanese version first. I played it in English first. I did play it in Japanese after. I know a lot of people like the dub for that game. I think you guys said something that you guys really like.
Yeah, I actually prefer it to the Japanese dub. Funny enough.
I have not played through the Japanese dub, but yeah, I really enjoyed the English dub of the original Xenoblade.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I like that they casted a whole bunch of it wasn't the usual American cast that you often get in these kind of games, so it kind of made it feel different, make it stand out a little bit. That's kind of why I like Xenoblade 2's dub, even though I know everybody hates the Scottish accents. I kind of like it because it seems fresh, it's different.
Yeah, I guess it was refreshing to not have Yuri Lowenthal or Steve Bloom play.
Thank you. I that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, I am so happy that I'm not playing yet another RPG with Yuri Lowenthal as a lead.
Yes.
Something's going off in somebody's room.
Not me. I didn't do it.
Let me.
Well, it sounds like somebody's car is getting towed, but I feel bad for that guy.
Oh, it was, I don't. Oh, that might have been the fire alarm. It's fine. It's fine.
I thought you were gonna look out the window and just be like, "Oh no, it's my car! They're towing my car!
Yeah.
Vile Mechon towing my car!"
No, no. I live out in the middle of nowhere, so that would be a big surprise to me.
Yeah, I think the one thing about Xenoblade in terms of like the English stuff is that I actually like the localization of it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like the localization of Xenosaga as well. But I guess it felt unique with Xenoblade.
Oh yeah.
I think that was a big reason why it felt fresh. Guarantee if they had American voice actors, I think a little bit of that cult hit feel, a little bit would be a little diminished.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
100%.
There's a couple of big standouts in the English version for me. I like Adam Haddam as Shulk.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
Somehow I'm forgetting Mealy's voice actress' name. It's weird that I'm forgetting it.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, because I just recently looked it up too, and she was like in Doctor Who.
Yeah, I was gonna. That's why I find it weird that I'm forgetting now, because I'm like, oh yeah, the person who did just a tiny bit of voice acting and then moved on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
Let's see, who's her voice actor? Jenna Coleman.
There you go. And I like Fiora's, so I think those are like the three big standouts for me. There's a sort of an inside joke in the Japanese version's voices where they casted Ryo Horikawa and Norio Wakamoto as Dunban and Mumkar, and the joke is that Ryo Horikawa is Vegeta and Norio Wakamoto is Cell, and that the two actors are constantly in everything, and they're either like good allies or the worst enemies. So they immediately all right, we gotta get. I think they casted one of them, and then they immediately all right, we gotta get the other guy because they have to play these characters. So I think it was in one of the books that they straight up just said they're like, yeah, they did it on purpose.
Nice.
I guess this might be for some people it might be a scorching hot take. So I guess I better take cover. I prefer the Japanese voices in every Xeno game to the English ones.
Mm-hmm.
might not sit well with some people, me saying that, but...
No, that's fine. Especially for Xenogears, the Japanese dub is way better at the
Oh,
very least.
gosh, that's not. Yeah, let's not even.
But like,
talk about
yeah, I mean, I think they're both good in their own right. Like, I like the English dub for Xenoblade, Xenosaga as well, but the Japanese dub is also fantastic, and I think it's one of the few instances where you genuinely could enjoy both of them. You could listen to the Japanese dub, you can enjoy that, and then you got the English one, which I think, it has its moments where it's better, but it also has its moments where it's a lot worse too. There's plenty of moments in the English dub where it's pretty cringe. So I think that there's a pretty good balance, and overall, both of them are pretty good.
I think my only real issue with the localization was sometimes the tone feels a little bit skewed in the English version, very rarely. Like Ryan in Japanese, you could take him a decent amount more seriously than you can in the English version, even though he's still like a funny character.
Yeah.
In the English version, they kind of ham him up a little bit too much.
Yeah, I don't like his jump sound where he just goes alley-oop.
Oh my god.
It's Ryan time.
It's just like, what? You really couldn't have thought of a better word for that?
It was funny the first couple of times, and then I think after a while I was like, can you mute characters in battle? Can you do that? Because he's fine everywhere else. But if I have to hear him say like some of these other quotes ever again.
No, it's Ryan time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But people like that line. I guess some people didn't get tired of it. So I guess more power to them, I guess. Wish I could be like you.
Yeah, it's like the I'm really feeling it thing, which honestly, Shulk doesn't even say it that much in the game, but it comes up in that one trailer in Smash, and now that's all everybody says.
No, we don't talk about that. Man, I almost forgot about Shulk in Smash. It's weird. It's weird that I forgot about that, considering I think I put like 100 hours of playtime in Smash just playing him. So that's
And you got the 2 Shulk amiibos too.
Yeah, I'm a real monster. Some poor kid could have used that one. It's so rare. But I saw. You want to know why I have 2 Shulk amiibo? The story is pretty pathetic. So I got the first one, and it was a bit of the tiniest paint error on the sweater, where the line isn't aligned properly with the black part. So there's a little bit of white in between the pinkish color and the black. And I kept looking at it, and I kept saying, it really bothers me. I can't take pictures of this amiibo without personally noticing that there's a little bit of white where there shouldn't be. So one day I just walk into a store, and I'm like, oh my god, there's one Shulk amiibo there. I made sure to check the paint job as closely as you possibly could without opening the box. I think I stood there in front of all these kids and their parents for like a half hour looking at, like, making sure that it was worth it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go buy it, and then I bought it, and that's why I have 2 Shulk amiibo, and the paint job was better. And,
wow.
I'm a very petty man.
Wow. Hey, but
yeah, could have things I could have spent that money on. Could have spent it on maybe a Cosmos figure that I didn't have because I don't have any. I could have bought contributed that to like a cool mech figure, like anyone. It doesn't have to be Ash or Dino, whatever the ones they have. It could have been could have gotten I could have got like a pizza, a couple of pizzas with that, like a pizza.
Yeah, could have bought like lunch.
I get like a pie with that. Yeah, it's just a lot of things. I could have gotten like a meatball sandwich.
Yeah.
Alright, it was a lot of good stuff, but I just got another Shulk amiibo. They just now the one with the tiniest the tiniest bit of white where it shouldn't be. That one, it just sits on my desk now, and the other one's in the collection. And the other one, it just gets to sit next to this just next to these little Gundam figures that my friend got me. There you go. I'm sure he's fine there. He gets more attention than the other one anyway because he's always in front of my computer, so it's fine.
yeah. Oh, it worked out.
Yeah, I can't judge you because I actually had 2 Shulk amiibo as well. One of them is still in the packaging, And the reason is simple. When the amiibos were coming out, they were really hard to find, and I didn't trust my GameStop to have enough, so I actually pre-ordered 2 at 2 different GameStops because I wanted to make sure I got one.
And you just got both.
Oh boy! Oh, the pre-order stuff. You know, I actually pre-ordered one of my Shulk amiibo. Guess what? I still don't have it.
That's why I pre-ordered 2.
And you know what? That's like the only thing I pre-ordered in the past like 4 years. I couldn't even get that. I couldn't even get the Shulk amiibo. I should have 3 right now, but
that's a terrible experience.
People probably think I'm like obsessed with this character. I'm like, I like him, but it's like, they probably think I don't know, like I draw art of him every day, and I write self-insert fan fictions where I shake his hand and I don't wash it for a week. People probably think I'm that guy with the story I just told.
No, you're only the guy who drinks with Takahashi. You can't be both.
Oh, how do you know it's a dream? How do you know he's still getting out of the airport right now? Gonna take him out to a high quality dinner here in New York. Gonna take him to the nearest McDonald's. Give him a good Happy Meal.
Give him that New York burger.
Yeah, from McDonald's.
From McDonald's, yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely a New York burger. But and then I you know what, when I played Xenoblade, it was 2012, which was the year it came out in America, and then I actually dropped the game like about 20% in because I was just so busy that it just got, sometimes that just happens.
Yeah.
And then in 2013 I ended up finishing it. I restarted it, and it was only about like 80%, maybe 85% into the game where I was like, hey, wait a minute. This might be by the Xenogears guy. I had no idea. I think his name pops up in the beginning of the game, and it just shows you how it just passed me by. For those of you that think I live every day and all I think about is what staff did what and what Nihiro Takami had for breakfast on a Sunday morning. That doesn't always happen. Especially back then, I was I was just playing the game. I was just enjoying the content for what it was. I wasn't not a jaded fan yet. It was a slightly better time. Yes, just a little bit. Then I think by the time I finished it, I think that X trailer was already out. Which again, at first had no idea it was Takahashi because I guess I'm just that dense where I just somehow saw mechs and an X and Monolith Soft, and my mind didn't jump to Takahashi again. But it didn't take long for me to kind of pick up on that. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was like, okay, yeah, right, yeah. How then I noticed that with the fancy looking X. And you know what? I was actually, I don't think I can ever say I was like super excited to play a game from them. Like I think for me it was just something that happened. I think this is the only one where I felt pretty excited to play the game, like just waiting for it. I'm not sure why. I think I think it was like the game was it wasn't promoted that much, but it was promoted just enough to make me feel a certain way about it. Like I didn't feel like I was overexposed to it. So I think that might have been a factor as to why I was like, man, I really want to play this game. Like it looked fun. And I guess before I talk about actually playing it, I should maybe talk a little about the beta, which
the beta
was not on the surface it's fine. Art direction is it's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. And the animations on some of the mechs is actually really good. But there's one little problem. There's one problem. Because it kind of came with like you could load it from a point where you had like your mechs already. And it was kind of an issue. Where I need to note that I played the beta after I finished the game. The final game, so I didn't get to play it till like after. But when you go in your mech and you drive around on the ground and you have maximum fuel, you run out of fuel in like 90 seconds by driving on the ground.
Oh my god.
And it's like the worst thing ever. It's so bad. Don't even get me on combat. Imagine you run out of fuel on combat, right? Like doing nothing sometimes, and I don't know why. It wasn't consistent at all. Maybe it wasn't programmed properly. I just remember thinking, like, they talk about how Xenoblade X had like a rough development period. It kind of took a while, and I didn't understand at first, other than like I guess Wii was hard to program. I think now I know why. I felt kind of stupid for not understanding why, considering how I tend to have a good grasp on why certain things are the way they are. Yeah, now I know why, because I think they were having a lot of trouble with these concepts. They had no idea what they were doing when it came to making a game where, you could interchange between going around on foot and in a mech. It was weird. It was a beta, so I can't be judgmental,
Right.
but it's
Right.
I just remember thinking like, how I didn't get an answer because I don't usually. Here's the thing: people seem to think that I talked. There's that one specific person that I said I'm the only person I would actually consider be like kind of a good friend. We don't talk about games very much. Again, I just to clarify, I don't go. I don't talk to him and send him messages saying, "Hey, what's Monolith Soft doing? What's the next game gonna be? Are you guys making Xenoblade X2?" I don't talk about that because I'm not a, for lack of a better word, I'm not an asshole. But the thing is, we usually talk about baseball, which is weird. But if you follow me on Twitter, I think that makes sense. That's actually the first thing we talked about. I didn't know him because of video games. I know this guy because I knew someone he's related to, and that's how I got to know him. And when the only reason we started talking was because of baseball. That was it. I never talked to him about Monolith Soft ever. It was just we still don't talk about it that much. It's not a, I'm not a. I know, because the thing is, I know if there's a lot of people who've told me, they're like, oh, if I knew someone like that, I'd ask him all these questions and stuff, and I've asked certain stuff. That's how I knew, like, little production quirks like that. I'm not gonna ask him like, what's your next project, or, what are you gonna do with this game, or is there going to be any more Xenoblade 2 DLC?
Right. You don't want to you don't want to take advantage of your friendship like that. That would be.
Yeah, like
rude.
it's not how it works. It's not. And
Right.
I've gotten to know other people. I think calling them a friend is a stretch. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I'm writing a piece about the development of some. I don't want to say what it is yet. Of something, and that's how. I had the chance to speak to two other people, and they helped me clarify a few details because there's some blanks there, and they kind of helped out. They've been very gracious to me, but again, I'm not here to. I hear people saying like if I knew this, I'd threaten to leak something. I'm like, yeah, that's great. If sorry, I don't have any leaks, but. If I had them, I tell you I don't have any leaks, so I guess you take that as you will. Because it just doesn't. I guess some people are just really big fans, and they just want to know more about certain things. For me, if something doesn't go answered, for me, there's always been somewhat of like an artistic quality to that anyway, because of the way they've done it. Except for Xenoblade X, I don't know what they were thinking with the way they ended that, but everything else, I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, it was done in a way that was satisfactory. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, it's I've had people that are like, it's one of those. You have one of those moments where you're like, I'm so happy Takahashi doesn't have Twitter, because it'd be the worst thing ever. It'd be so bad. I'm sure if either of you guys follow like Soraya Saga. Occasionally you'll see like the tweet about like how basically to put it in a nutshell, misinformation is cancer.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I used to, I would agree with that, but before I really I have to know anyone, I would just kind of like passively agree. Now I'm at a point where I struggle to like even read any discourse on Xeno whatsoever, because it's like there's times where I want to say something but you can't. And it gets very frustrating. So it's like, you ever see me on Twitter and I'm like, yeah, did you know that Xeno sucks? That's because of that. It's because I'm having one of those days where I'm just like, yeah, it's like, I don't want to look at it. Like, I want to launch every game to the sun, and pretend I never played any of them, and just bury my head in the sand. I don't know what Xenoblade is. I don't know what you're talking about. I know. The Xeno game by Namco, yeah. Dragon Ball Xenoverse. I know what that is. Yeah, I played that. It's one of those. Not to be negative. I didn't come here to be a. The first thing I told myself when I came here was, don't be a buzzkill and don't try not to come off as a man on his high horse and an elitist. Even though I think I already came off as that, but
No.
it is what it is, I guess.
You're fine. You're fine.
But it is what it is. But yeah, when I finally got I was actually planning on playing the Japanese version of Xenoblade X because it was such a big release window. It came out in late April in Japan, and it came out in December.
Right. Yeah.
December was the more appropriate time to release it because the wind blows hard, but that's just my interpretation.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I see what you did there.
I'm glad you made that.
I just got that. Like, I was thinking about it, I was like, I got it now.
I'm glad you made that. Oh, good reference.
When I first played it, because I remember, I think this was like, there was definitely like some. Remember when Xenoblade 2 came out, some people weren't really like a big fan of the art style, and stuff like that. People saw it, they're like, I kind of like the old style more, stuff like that. Some people were kind of iffy on, when it was coming out. But with Xenoblade X, I think that one had like one of the most. I guess some people maybe didn't like what they were seeing. And I guess it was partly because of how different the first Xenoblade was. It was one of those games where we're watching the build to it. It was kind of strange to watch so many reactions to that game. And I guess, today, the game's been out for a while, and people talk about there's Xenoblade, they talk about Xenoblade 2. You'll see some people talk about Xenosaga, not as much as the two I mentioned. Same with Xenogears. I guess Xenogears is more romanticized, I guess, but I mean, not that that's like a terrible thing or anything. It's fine. It's just, so I guess that one still gets some, especially for people who are fans of like, the PS1 era RPG. I notice like a lot of people that will talk about that. They're more specifically fans of the PS1 era of role-playing games rather than Xeno. I've kind of noticed that a little bit. But with Xenoblade X, it's like I kind of told myself the other day when I was thinking about like, seeing people talk about the games, and Xenoblade X didn't get a mention. And I just remember sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I was like, apparently people hate this game. Apparently people hate Xenoblade X. Like, it's weird. It just feels like the other day I kind of had to remind myself that the game existed because it was, nobody talks about it. It's kind of, I don't know, like I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but if you feel like you're seeing the same thing or what.
No, there's definitely people who really hate X. I've gone into many discussions about it. Because I don't hate it. I know there's a lot of things about it that are questionable and things that even I'm not a huge fan of. But overall, I did have fun. I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Xenoblade X, and I do see a lot of discourse about the hatred around it, mostly being it's so different from the original Xenoblade.
Yeah, I feel like it's gotten. It was like that when it first came out. I think it's like that now, in a slightly different way. I guess hindsight, maybe. I think one of you said that it was like marketed the wrong way or to the wrong people or something.
Yeah, I think I said that. I remember I made a comment. I said something along the lines of they made the right game but for the wrong audience.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying.
Because like what it did actually pretty well. Ending aside, I think like what Xenoblade X was trying to accomplish, they did a decent job at it. It's just that unfortunately, it wasn't for the right audience. Like the people who wanted Xenoblade X, they kind of expected something closer to the first game. And I've noticed in the RPG fan base, just in general, when you change a formula in a sequel, that just gets people on edge, even if it's done really well. You're always going to have people who will just forever see it as an abomination just because it changed something. And I've noticed that a lot with just RPG fans in general for a lot of other games. And not even just RPG fans, just in general, I've noticed that with a lot of fandoms when you go on the forums. You see that a lot whenever something comes out and it's perceived to be very different.
Yeah, I mean, I the build up to the game, I really liked. I liked what I saw. I wasn't sure how to feel about. Well, this is less narrative driven because some people would say that the first Xenoblade is already less narrative driven than his previous work.
Right.
So now it's even less narrative driven. So I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay, like that's not a big deal. But we'll see where it goes. I'm at a point where I'm more concerned just make something that I can like for what it is rather than do this a certain way. Because when I look at all the games, I think my biggest problem with Xeno these days is that it feels like it's doing some of the same things over and over again, even though the direction is very different. I see some of the same stuff, hit some of the same beats, and I'm just like, man, like, getting a little tired of it. But with Xenoblade X, I still, the build to it. Again, I think it was because I wasn't so overexposed to it. Like with Xenoblade 2, they promoted it a lot, and I think that a lot of that had to do with. I think they were a lot smarter about marketing games on the Switch than they were with the Wii U, where it seemed like they had no idea what they were doing. Like the Wii U reveal at E3 was nobody even knew what it was. Like, what's the Wii U? What is that reveal? Like nobody knew it. It was a pretty bad reveal, but when I finally got around to playing Xenoblade X, I remember it came out at the worst time because I was so busy that weekend. Remember, I bought it, I played it for a bit, and then didn't get to play it again until like the Monday after the Friday came out. And I remember if there's one thing I always walk out of Xenoblade X thinking is that it's the most fun I've ever had playing a Xeno game. And I might even go as far as to say that it's not even close. That's how much fun I had playing it. And that's just speaking in terms of like gameplay, the maps and mechanics, and the little life conveniences the game had. Like, it was one of those games where it was like I put a lot more into that game than I would have expected to. Like, just as a comparison, I think between 2 times I played the original Xenoblade, probably had about 150 hours put in. Maybe a little more. With Xenoblade X, I probably had about 350 hours put in between playing it twice.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was... And I've only played through Xenoblade 2 once. And at the final save point, I believe I had 59 hours put in. And after I beat it and played again. So, just as a comparison like that, I just really enjoyed just playing it. Like, it was just a fun game to play.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there were a lot of little things. Like, I think the art direction is... It's hard to say if which game has the best art direction. The art direction for Xenoblade X was also Norihiro Takami. It was the last game it's the last Xeno game he did. And yeah, it was one of those things where he had some freedom. He never was nearly as restricted as he was in the past. I'm not sure if I would say he was more or less restricted than he was with Xenoblade, the first one, because he had some other people helping with the aesthetic. It has a very specific look to it that's not necessarily his. But there's still a lot of things in terms of like the way things are lit and colored, and a lot of those little atmospheric things. Those are his. That's like his touch. And you could definitely see that in Xenoblade X because, again, the easiest way to tell him apart is the way he does colors, and every like little region, it feels completely different. Like Primordia is like kind of a very down to earth looking, like color wise. Especially for like an alien planet. But then you go to like Sylvalum, and it's like shocking compared to Primordia. It's like that's like way more like alien looking. The floor has like this almost like intimidating, like desolate feel to it, but the sky is like really like pink at times it has like a very specific look to it. It feels like it feels a little more abstract. And then you have I guess the safest one was probably I'm forgetting what it's called now. The last area you go to, or at least it's supposed to be, the flame one. Cauldros.
Yeah.
But I still think they did a really good job with that, because that's where like the main enemy bases are, and it's supposed to look. Again, he likes to use the color red for like aggression, which is kind of the way it looks, the way it does. Then you had like Oblivia, which is I had there's like a clip of me, playing the game, and I was in Oblivia, and somebody said something I didn't even think about. He felt like it was Star Wars inspired. When he saw it, he actually thought I was playing like a Star Wars ripoff, because it kind of looked like, because I'm like driving by like there's like this one spot where there's like something in the ground.
Uh-huh.
It's like deep in the sand. I guess maybe he felt like that was something you would see in Star Wars. Am I forgetting an area? Oh wait, a Noctilum. That one's great.
Oh yeah.
The one that has music that sounds like Phil Collins is about to start singing any second. It's one of those things where like it's hard to pick a favorite area.
Oh yeah, all of the areas in that game were fantastic.
Yeah, he did a really good job with that. Again, it was mostly just to create a sense of. I think that game was the most he's ever talked, actually.
Oh yeah.
Like publicly about what his like process. Like he has intentionally said that, like, because he had like some influence on the way some of the monsters look in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he was very specific about having some of the monsters fit a certain way with where they are. And it's why, if you look at the art book, I don't know if any of you guys have it, but if you have it, take a look at like some of the monster illustrations again and see how like insanely detailed they are. There was one of them I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what the creature was, but it was so detailed that I thought it wasn't a painting. I thought it was the render being put into the thing, and it wasn't. It was just a painting. That's how like detailed they went with like some of the monster designs. So the art direction is like, you could argue it's like 60% of the game because of the way it's handled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that the well, go ahead.
Oh, you go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think the worst impression, I think, for some people with the game, maybe the reason why some people don't like it, aside from the change in tone and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
was the main story. Some people seem to define it by its main story, but the main story just feels like an extended side story.
Right.
And I remember saying, like, somebody asked me, like, if you were to make a change in terms of like the scope and the way that part of the game was designed. I don't really have an answer for that, because it's not really my vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a sensitive thing to just say. I do it like this. I don't feel comfortable doing that. But especially when you know anyone that's kind of been a part of the project. But I think the closest answer I would have is I think it would have been pretty interesting if they just abandoned the idea of like having a single main story. And the game seems to love its side stories.
Oh yeah.
So kind of
That's what we were talking
handle
about
it.
last time, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you guys said that you like the side stories a lot. I would have maybe handled it like and again, the reason why it's like that is partly because they made a shift in development to try to incorporate like online and stuff like that. Like the vision changed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have probably handled, like, if I knew what it was going to be from the start, maybe like kind of like Grand Theft Auto, where you have like separate main stories. You kind of do them at will. Maybe something like that. And maybe it all just kind of comes together. You don't have to do them in order. Like, you just do them separately. Maybe something like that, because they're already kind of there with some of the character story like quests.
Oh yeah.
It's already kind of like that, so maybe just do it like that. But maybe a narrative that kind of ties together a little bit more, and maybe something like that, because the game seems to want you to be free, and that would go in with that idea. So that's just off the top of my head. I don't know. I wouldn't take my suggestion too seriously. But I think for me, when I went through the main story, I didn't dislike the main story or anything. I thought it was. I think my biggest problem with it was there was just, it was like Takahashi came up with a lot of the concepts, but he didn't write a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the writers had a lot of problems, and this is also a problem with Xenoblade 2, but it's more of a problem with tone and structure. With Xenoblade X, it's more of a problem of just like there's a part where like the life hold countdown is like in the middle of the city.
Mm.
It's supposed to be like this big secret, but it's in front of everyone's faces. It's just a giant countdown. They're like, we can't let anyone know what this is, but we're gonna play the countdown in front of the entire city. Everyone's gonna see this, and we're gonna try to make sure they don't panic, even though you could probably turn it off. I mean, it's one of those things, like, it could have used a better explanation, or just it just isn't thought out super well. I guess you could just say that, what's the guy's name? The guy who's like basically the leader of the people. I'm forgetting his name. Mori? Is that his name? Mori?
Like, or Nagi? Or...
No, Nagi's the greatest character ever, by the way. But yeah, Nagi's like the other. He's like the sort of the chief blade, I guess. I'm talking about the guy that's above him, older looking guy. I think it was Mori or something.
Oh, okay.
Morris was his name. It was Morris.
Okay.
God, Mori, what's wrong with him? But Morris, I remember when I brought up like the fact that this was that part of the story happened. I was just like, this guy has to be like the ballsiest guy ever to just put that up there. That's the only explanation I have, that he's got like this low key mean streak cocky side, and he's able to play it off like a professional. He just puts this on there. Oh, they won't know what it is. They won't panic. It's fine. The countdown to your deaths, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll be just, it's cool. Nah, I don't know what you're worried about. It's cool. Put your sword away. It's fine.
Yeah, no one's gonna panic and cause a riot or anything.
Yeah. The only reason Nagi is like my favorite character in that game is because it's literally just because well, yes, he's a cool character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly superficial, but there's one great thing about him, and it's his English voice. He's voiced by Michael McConaughey. I'm already sold. Like I want to live in a log cabin alone in the woods with Michael McConaughey. That'd be fantastic.
He was great.
I want to. Yeah, he's awesome. Like yeah, I'm a little biased. Like I said, I want to live in a log cabin with him. So obviously there's some bias there. I think. I think my favorite voice role in any of these games is his role as Margulis.
Oh yeah.
He's so good. Like, I remember the first thing I thought of when I heard that character is like, this guy sounds like he's about to blow a gasket constantly, and it's kind of amazing. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, he's so good as that character. He's good as a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first time I really noticed him was in the Big L, where he played Schwartzwald.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a character that gives all these speeches, and he gives them like it's like amazing. Like he's so good. I can't turn this into the Michael McConaughey the suck off party. I'm sorry.
I mean, we I was gonna say we could, but no. I'm glad that was one of the changes they did not make in the Xenosaga games, and I'm glad they were able to keep him for all three games. He's one of the best.
Yeah, him and Richard Epcar.
Oh yeah,
I liked a lot of Ziggy. I think there's probably like 3 voices I like in those games more than the Japanese version.
Oh yeah.
It's usually few far in between where I would say that about a game. It probably makes you sound like Pure has really sensitive weed. He's got really sensitive weeb sensibilities. Like apparently that's probably the impression I'm giving.
No.
But no, there were 3 in that series. It was Mark McConaughey, shocker. It was Richard Epcard's Ziggy, and I like Richard Hoffman's Cosmos. Those are the 3 that I like the most. I think I guess the one that's even for me is I guess Albedo. Not a lot of people like his English voice.
Oh yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think he does a great job, but I do think the Japanese one is also really gets into it. Like they both sound really, they really get into those characters.
Mm-hmm.
I guess on the subject of voice work, before I go back to Xenoblade X, is that I think all the games have great Japanese voice tracks, but Playing through the Xenosaga trilogy in Japanese was interesting because the first two games have a great voice. Like the voice works really good, really good. But for the third one, it's like it's as great as those are. It's on like another level for that particular game for one reason or another. Like I'm not sure why. Maybe just the story content. Maybe they felt like it allowed for them to really get as into it as possible. Or maybe they were just so familiar with those characters by that point. But it's like really like I think that's one of the biggest takeaways of playing that in Japanese for me. It was like the voice work in the Japanese version is just. I mean, I think it's fine in the English version. It's just in the Japanese version for that particular game is like they really got into it for that one. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I guess since it was the last game, there's a lot of emotional scenes. They just really put all their effort into it.
Yeah, like Jin's Japanese voice, who was also Shiton in Xenogears, but he doesn't really get a chance to really express himself as much in that game. And yeah, there's only so much he can do.
Oh yeah.
But he really does a good job with that character with Jin in Xenosaga, but it's weird. I always think of him. I think he's the voice of Kevin Spacey in every Japanese dub for him.
Oh,
that's who he is.
Interesting trivia.
Yeah.
I think. Let me make sure. I'm pretty sure I'm right. He's definitely the voice of someone I know. That's a cool thing. It's also unfortunate now. But.
Yeah.
So Pierre, do you have any like thoughts? What are your thoughts on like Xenoblade 2? Since I guess we've kind of that's like the last game we should cover.
That's a dangerous question.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't dislike it. Before people start, panicking. You can calm down. I don't hate this game. I don't really dislike it either or anything like that. But I guess I should go through my impression of it first when it was first revealed. This is the closest you'll ever get to like a leak of something that I've ever gotten, really. At least at the time, was that I had already known, like I had known they were going to reveal a game at that the Switch conference, and I had already known that the game was not going to be a sequel to Xenoblade X. Those are the two things I knew. But I was still surprised at the reveal because I wasn't expecting it to be that. I wasn't expecting the polar opposite of Xenoblade X in so many ways.
Right.
I was a little taken aback by what I saw. Now, to clarify here, I've never really been super wowed by any trailer for any of these games. I've never saw a trailer and said, "Oh, I'm super hyped." Closest thing was Xenoblade X, just because I thought the way it was presented was kind of cool. I think it was just it came at the right time, and it was presented in just barely the right way. I think the game had some serious marketing problems because it had okay marketing when the Japanese release was coming out, even in America. And then it came out in America, and it just wasn't marketed at all. It just happened. It was like some people probably never heard of it. Like it was.
Yeah,
I feel like the game kind of got screwed over in that regard.
Yeah, I remember Nintendo was putting out these like videos that were like describing different aspects. I think they were just like direct translations of the Japanese equivalent videos, but they just their release schedule for them was like very over the like it wasn't very consistent, and it just almost seemed like an afterthought sometimes.
Yeah, it's just strange. Oh, by the way, God, my voice is cutting out. I was not expecting to talk this much today. Yeah, for a guy that said I should never do this kind of thing when you suggested the idea, I sure did say a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's totally fine. I don't know. I'm very it's a love-hate relationship with this damn thing. With Xenoblade 2, when the trailer came out, I was kind of taken aback. I was like, somehow I was still surprised, despite it would have been warranted if I had been the least surprised person in the room. I didn't like hate the trailer or anything, but I didn't think it was a very good one. It was just kind of there, like it was.
Yeah.
It looked like a JRPG.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could describe the trailer. That's not a terrible thing, but it looked like they weren't ready to show anything else.
Yeah.
Because the production schedule for that game is a little wonky. It wasn't like, and it kind of looked rough. Like some of the models are not nearly done yet.
Mm.
And with every trailer that came out, there was one thing I kept talking about, something that I was increasingly worried about. It's the most petty thing in the world. What a shock that I'd be really petty about one tiny thing that just bothers me. But so some people don't like the character designs in Xenoblade 2. Now, I'm really not a fan, but that's not the problem. I can live with that. It's not a big deal.
Mm.
But there's one thing about the character designs that will perpetually bother me, and I'm sure a lot of people who know me already know what's coming. They're already, they're holding their breath, and it's the noses.
The noses.
The noses in Xenoblade 2, really, every time I look at them, it's like, let me put it this way, there's the best way I could explain this, there's a character they just revealed on their Twitter for the Torna DLC.
Mm.
And it's like I guess he's like a kid. I didn't take a great look at it, like in terms of, how old he might have been, but he has freckles. And if you look at him from the front,
Mm-hmm.
his nose kind of disappears because of the way the shading and designs work.
Yeah.
And his nose turns into a dot. If you're looking at this kid, you might have to second guess where his nose is. Because of the way they made the noses. It's stuff like why do we have dot noses in a 3D space? Again, really petty. I'm not saying that you should feel the same in any way. If anything, you should be better than me and not feel this way. But I just see the noses and it's like, man, like it's so distracting. Rex has these giant eyes and this huge mouth. But he's got this itty bitty nose when I look at him from the front. It just, and if you zoom back a bit and there's no like proper shading, he's in like broad daylight, his nose just straight up disappears. It's not there anymore. And it will always bother me. Like that was my biggest fear. It was the pettiest thing ever going into this game. It wasn't like, oh, I'm worried about the story. I'm like, maybe I'll like it for what it is. It's not a big deal. No, I was worried about the noses. I kept thinking that the more I played this game, the harder it'd be to look at because of the noses, not the designs. Everyone's like, I hate the designs. It looks too anime. Like, I don't care about the anime. Where are the noses? Give me the noses. Somebody give me... Zeke's got a nose. Why can't Rex have a nose? Why has he got to have a nose? That's not fair. Rex is... she's a nice kid. Why did you not give him a nose? It's stuff like that. From the side, it's not that bad. And I guess this is the part where people get upset at me when it comes to visuals again. Again, people probably think I hate this game. It's just, it's those little things that going into the game, I was like, this is so bizarre. Like, why did you make it look, that one part look like that? And it was the way hair was modeled was a little strange. Sometimes it flows fine and it looks okay.
I agree with that one.
Yeah, it either looks too shiny, or if there's no shiny on it, it's just like there's no texture. Mm-hmm. So the best explanation for this is unlike Rex is not that bad. Looks kind of like maybe a little bland, but it's fine. It works. But unlike, again, everyone seems to really like Pyra's model. Hey, I said her name right, by the way. I said Pyra, not Hamura. So if sometimes when I look at her, I'm sure people like her model because of certain assets, I guess. but for me, every time I see her, like her hair from like a certain angle, and again, it depends on the shading, her hair kind of like loses a lot of its texture and it stops moving. And at that point, her model to me kind of looks like a Lego block, where like kind of like, like those humanoid Lego blocks.
Mm-hmm.
You know how you could attach hair on the Lego block?
Right.
That's what it looks like to me when it stops moving and the shading disappears. It kind of looks like if I were to like grab the poor girl's head and I pulled up, the hair would just kind of like pop off and make like a popping sound, and I'd have to apologize. I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I took your hair. Like that's what it looks like sometimes, and it yeah, stuff like that was like, man, there's some interesting choices. It's partly the character designs, but they don't really look like that in 2D. It's in 3D. I think they got so literal with it that those little things they were getting under my skin. Again, I'm really petty for this. It's my fault to a certain degree. I'm sure a lot of people. I probably ruined it for a lot of people. Now they probably can't unsee it. But,
yeah. The thing that bothered me sometimes with I remember sometimes with like Cosmos or Telos being like inside like a room at the inn, and their hair is just billowing, but it's like, where is this wind coming from?
Yeah, it was. The thing is, I never got either of those blades. Obviously, Telos came out after I beat the game, and I just never got Cosmos. But I never tried too hard. I'd have my cores, and I believe you need the justice boosters to try to get her. So I just try that every time, and I would just never get her. Instead, I got everything. I got the stuff I didn't want, except for like I got a zombie. So I'm like, hey, I sent him a message. I got a zombie. That's cool. But I was like, I got Dagas too. I really like his design.
Yeah. Yeah, Cosmos is the hardest blade to get, and I was so lucky to even get her.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't mind. I'm not dying to have Cosmos. I don't care that much. It's fine. Like, it's just a guest character. I'm not getting this. I don't know. It's not and not to downplay the fact that she's in the game or anything. It's cool.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't frothing at the mouth I need Cosmos or else I won't beat the game. That was not the case. But yeah, I think the only other example, again, I'm gonna rub someone the wrong way, but there's that one screenshot where there were, again, it was for the Torna DLC. And there's one screen. I'm probably gonna ruin this for a lot of people that like this screenshot. They're showing all the characters, and one of them was of I almost said Hikari, Mithra, and she's like holding her sword, and she's kind of got it across her back. It's kind of like a cool pose. But for me, it's ruined because her head, it's like toward the front, and it's in a certain amount, that kind of distance I was talking about, where the nose, not only would it be a dot, but it disappears. So, and from that angle, because of the way her hair is like kind of angled, you kind of notice that her head is actually shaped kind of like a peeled potato, and it kind of has like the facial features on it, and the nose is gone. If she had a nose, it wouldn't look like that. But yeah, I was kind of sitting there like, this would be a much cooler screenshot, but I can't unsee the rest of that. And if you just put it closer to her, just made it go closer to her head or something, it'd probably look fine. But I was like, from far away, if there's shading in the room, if it's in like a dimly lit room, that doesn't happen actually. You get shading on like the noses, but if it's in broad daylight, it's like, man, like, I don't know how Rex breathes. I'm so sorry, Rex. I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve that.
No.
But yeah, that was like, see, I just spent like 10 minutes talking about like how that's how petty I was about like the noses. People think like, oh, you didn't have a problem with Tanaka's character designs and Xenoblade. I was like, they were kind of stiff, but they were weird. I wasn't satisfied with them, but I wasn't going into the game thinking, oh man, Elma, where'd your nose go? That didn't happen. But it's an art style thing. I guess to some degree, it's a matter of taste. But I just can't unsee that.
Yeah.
We had some trailers. The problem is that like the trailers didn't do anything for me, I guess. So when I went into the game, I think I said I'm kind of ice cold on this, and I wasn't trying to like be negative about it. It was just more of like an unfortunate thing. I was like, it kind of sucks, and I'm not like super like my expectations aren't like very. I don't want to say they're low, but they just wasn't like hype about it.
Yeah, the initial trailers weren't overly exciting for me either.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them just being like, oh, cool, there's a sequel, but it wasn't like, oh my god, I gotta play it. I mean, I still pre-ordered the game, but I wasn't blown away.
Yeah, I think.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because I think I didn't really get hyped for Xenoblade 2 until like a few months before it was to release. For a while, I just wasn't. I mean, I wanted to play it, but it wasn't something I was excited about as much as other Xeno games in the past.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just us. If you didn't feel that way, it's
Right.
perfectly fine.
Right.
But yeah, the most hype I was the day before, after I blew that guy off, that poor man. What a friend I am. And yeah, that was just like, yeah, like, and then what was I supposed to say to that message after the last one, and then the Cosmos was there. She was there. She was on screen. She's in the game. Yeah, she's just there. You get her, and I was yeah, that was I think that was probably the most excited I was, just because I was like, hey, how could you not be excited with something that the only twist that's actually surprised me with the game was that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. I was like, I guess I'm in. I'm in now.
Yeah,
You can have my money, I guess.
Yeah, that sealed the deal for me too.
Same.
Yeah, not even like a super, like, I like Cosmos, and I'm not like a die-hard fan of her particular character. But I was like, that's still like, it was just so out of nowhere. I was like, what do you even say to that?
Right.
Like, but yeah, so I play the game, and again, I don't want to come off as super negative, because again, I don't want that to hang over this episode that's gone on for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I went through like the first chapter. By the way, something I don't think I've ever seen anyone mention. It was like the first thing I noticed was every single one of these games, and it is partly a Takahashi thing. It's always kind of like his idea, even if he's not the director. Is that every Xeno game that's ever come out has always started with something that started in the past before the immediate events of the game. Like Xenogears has like the Eldridge.
Nope, that's
Xenosaga
absolutely true.
Has
the
Zohar.
Yep.
Xenosaga 2 has the old Milton stuff. Xenosaga 3 has Kevin and his mother. Xenoblade has Shulk doing the narration. Xenoblade X has Lyn doing the narration on the past. But Xenoblade 2 doesn't have that. Xenoblade 2 just starts off with Rex. He's just chilling. He's just sitting on his grandpa. That's a dragon thing, and he's just scavenging. That's it. And yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't mind. I'm all for some change. I was just complaining about how some stuff gets stale.
Right.
I was like, that's fine. And I was actually kind of hoping that the game, because I think the game kind of struggles a bit with it wants to be taken very lightly. It wants to be charming, wants to be and then it kind of wants to be taken seriously sometimes. And I kind of have a lot of trouble taking it seriously.
Yeah, that was one of the issues I had with the story, especially early on, because there's a lot of moments where it tries to be serious, but it's kind of like in conflict with itself. Because you'll have a serious scene, but then the next scene somebody will do something like really anime, or they'll make like a really lighthearted joke.
Tora.
And it's just like
Tora will say something.
Yeah, Tora, or even like Nia at times. Like many of the characters, they all have moments where, I mean, like the scenes when taken by themselves aren't bad. It's just that it feels kind of out of place at times. But I think it gets better as you go on. Like the second half of Xenoblade 2, I think is significantly better than the first half, because it's a little bit more consistent with that. But I do think that those initial chapters can be a bit off-putting.
I mean, again, for me, people seem to probably think, again, this goes back to the fantastic theory that may or may not be true, that the only two Xeno games that I like are Xenogears and Xenoblade 1. They probably think that probably going to assume I'd rather have something be as serious as possible or adhere to that specific directing style. But honestly, I would have been okay if, actually, I probably maybe would have liked more if Xenoblade 2 just stuck to that light tone with some serious stuff, but try not to, because there's some parts where it really wants to be taken really seriously, and I have a lot of trouble, and it's partly the directing, and the other part of it is just, you can't have this take place after all that other stuff. It just doesn't work. Or you can't do it with these characters. So with the first chapter was just there for me at first. I didn't mind anything. The only thing I didn't like, by the way, okay, similarity here, and again, this is some people might feel insulted about the similarity. I keep saying this like I'm paranoid, but I know how this fandom can be sometimes. It can be a very fickle place.
Yeah.
But so you have a game where again, this is just my perspective. I'm not saying that this is just the way it is.
Yeah, go for
But
it.
Yeah.
where the combat starts off very slow and takes a while to get good, like a good or a while to speed up in any way. The story has some tone issues. I also think it has some music placement issues. And it is there's some, I guess, it's just some general directing quirks that I don't think work really well. What does that sound like? Kind of sounds like another game that ended in 2. I just think the number 2 is cursed. If they ever make a Xenoblade X2, it's gonna have these problems. It's gonna be they're gonna slow down the combat as much as possible. Remember how fast Xenoblade X was? Well, now you gotta wait. They're gonna add like what do the kids want these days? They want a stocking system. You gotta stock for like 30 seconds, and then you could use your attacks. Oh, please don't let that happen. Make a second game.
Don't jinx it, please.
Yeah, for me, that's kind of how I felt. It was like, there's some weird stuff. I think what made me nervous playing the game, and this is one of those things where I'm very disconnected from how people feel about a certain part of the game. Where there's a part near the end of chapter 1 where you're on it's like an airship. Is that what that was?
Yeah.
My memory on certain parts of these things, even though I watched it in Japanese, because I played it in English first, which is probably not the best decision for me. I watched in Japanese, and I really am not a fan of the localization in terms of like the script. Like the names are one thing, the script is another. So you go through this part, and you kind of like Rex dies in an unironic swooshes behind you, nothing personal scene. But there's the part where he comes back and they're leaving, and so they put a lot of and it was in the trailers a lot, that fight scene that plays out.
Oh yeah,
it's in the trailers a lot, and when I watched it in the trailers, I actually thought it looked pretty cool in the trailers. I was like, but when they do it in the trailer, it's kind of cut up a different way.
Yeah.
They did the same thing in some of the Golden Torna stuff. Like, you could tell they're kind of splicing together scenes to make it look even flashier than it is. So this fight scene had a lot of production time in it. This is so Xenoblade X had some issues with its cutscene direction. It wasn't done by Norihiro Takami. He only did the art direction. And I think it was because the art direction was such a big task for that particular game. They just had someone else do the cutscene direction. It was not done in-house. It was done by someone else. Like, I guess you could call him a freelancer, but not really.
Oh.
But he wasn't a part of Monolith Soft. And the cutscenes in Xenoblade X are kind of flat very often. The characters will just kind of stand around, even when they're trying to give it some degree of like a cinematography feel. And it's, they kind of zoom in on the characters' faces and they're just kind of talking. It's got some problems. And for some reason, I'm kind of drawing blank on this guy's name. I'm pretty sure his name was Daisuke Shimomura. I just looked at it real quick. Yeah, that's his name. He was the main cutscene director from that game. But because the game sort of shifted away from, cutscene direction and like having a narrative-heavy game, it shifted away so far from that, even from like the original Xenoblade. They didn't put too much time into it for him. So it's not the best indication of his direction. He actually wouldn't work on Xenoblade 2, despite some of his coworkers working on it. They were also like freelancers. They're outsourced, I think, from a certain company, but I don't know if they're always with that company. That's why I call them freelancers. I don't know. It's kind of like there's like a blurry line between the two. But the other one that worked with him was Hiroshi Shirai, and he's the cutscene director for Xenoblade 2. But both him and Shimomura would work on Breath of the Wild. And they did some cutscene direction for that game. But Daisuke never worked on... Daisuke Shimomura never worked on Xenoblade 2. He just stuck to Breath of the Wild. He had a bigger role for that one. I think that's probably a better indication of his cutscene direction than Xenoblade X. He had more time. But, yeah, Hiroshi Shirai is new. He's not, like, super experienced. He didn't get to do that much in Xenoblade X. He also did storyboarding stuff in Xenoblade X. And he had a lot of problems trying to storyboard stuff. A lot of the really flat stuff was actually because of him. And So he storyboarded the action scene in the on the airship, and it's like the weirdest mix of like some of the nicest and worst stuff I've ever seen from him. Where like if you watch it, you'll see that they kind of reuse the same shot for Malos. Like a lot of times, like when a storyboard artist isn't entirely sure what to do, sometimes they'll on like a to try to create an ominous feel, they'll do like that shot that's cut like below the eyes but above the nose. You can't, and he does that twice with Mets, and it doesn't work. Like it kind of works one time, the other time it works, and the scene is kind of a mess in terms of like when I saw the scene, I didn't like hate it or anything. It was just I remember thinking I felt kind of fooled into thinking it was gonna be a little more awesome than it was in the trailer because it was cut so nicely there. Just the best way to describe some of the directing choices are there's a part where Pyra, I have to stop myself and remember these names because I don't know why they changed the names this much.
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous, but yeah, go on.
so Pyra and Malos, I remember at this time, that's their part where they're fighting, and it's actually not a bad part. It's actually kind of nice, but the sound kind of hurts it. Like the sound effects aren't very good, and they don't really pack a certain punch. Just one part that's great. There's a part where Malos punches Rex, and it's really good. That's like a great part of that scene because it sounds like it hurts. And but when him and Pyra, it just doesn't sound right, and it's cut kind of awkwardly and timed awkwardly. But try watching that scene again next time with sound, and then watch it again, but watch it in silence. No music, no sound effects, and it's like 10 times better. It's actually good without the sound. I think that's a great way to kind of tell how the sound direction is, because that's usually how I tell them. Like, I wonder how much more I'd like this if I just turned off the sound. And that was kind of it's the little things like that I feel like they could have improved upon a lot. Like, because on the surface, I think Shirai is he's really good at making cutscenes look very polished. Because almost all the scenes look really polished, and that's partly because the models. And partly because of cell shading, but the models are easier to work with. They're way easier to animate than anything they've had to work with before. I think the closest example you have is Xenosaga 3. Those models, Choco was actually really smart about how he handled the character sheets for that game, for them to sort of a reference sheet for them to use as the models. Because a lot of people think that the designs, like when they use the designs as an example, they usually use the 2D art that he made. Like, if you look at the one for Shion, and then you look at the 2D promo art you did for her, and you look at the character sheets, they're almost completely different. Like, the collar looks completely different. Proportions are different. Her face looks different. Everything looks... Like, it looks so...
Oh, yeah.
The character sheets are super toned down. Like, she looks so different in 3D in that game compared... She looks more grounded in that interpretation than, like, the promo art.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's what he was going for. I think the promo art, he made the promo art look that way on purpose because he wanted it to kind of stick out when they were promoting the game. It was more of a marketing decision to a degree. But yeah, he and unlike Xenosaga 2, he actually knew what direction they wanted the game to go, like in terms of art style for the characters. He didn't actually have that for the second game. So if he ever thought that Shion, like as she appears in game, with the clothes she's wearing in Xenosaga 2 looked maybe a little bland, it's because he didn't design it with that art style in mind. If you look at some of the sheets he made, it pops out so much more. I think the design looks better there than it does in 3D. And but that didn't really happen with the third game. He knew exactly, like Momo, he already knew what the game was going to look like in the second game when he finally got to her. But for Shion, he already he just didn't know it was so early.
Oh yeah, because he put out the Xenomi missions 1, 2, 3 plus 4, or they released it digitally. And looking through the artwork for episode 2, I remember there was several different designs for Shion.
Yeah, she always in the third one she has like a. There's so many designs that I'm able to see that aren't there at all. That are for the third game that are just it's all over the place. Like it's so the design as it appears in game is actually closer to how Monosoft wanted it. But they were accepting to other things, so he had a bunch of other designs, and some of the ones he came up with were so bad. Like there were some I've seen that are like it's like the one that shows up in the third game, but it's like if like Nomura lost his mind because there was just zippers and belts everywhere, and I'm just like, why would you draw that way? Like I know it's sci-fi, but it's like that doesn't look comfortable at all. Like it just looks. Like, dude, it's a crop top and shorts. It's not that complicated. It's like casual wear. Like, chill out. Like, I don't know why. What are these belts doing on the side? Like it didn't make any sense. Like, it's just, and you could see like the base version of it in the E3 emissions. You could see one of them is still there. I think it has a letter H next to it. And that's it's like that, but just imagine that one, but just like it's got like 1,000 things stacked onto it. It's like, and the other thing about Choco is that he can actually draw a lot like Saito, who's a character designer for Xenoblade 2. He has like if you look out of his art, it's actually got a similar art style, but he's actually like and a lot of people kind of write him off because like, oh, he's these guys are hentai artists or whatever, or they've done hentai or whatever, they've done pornography. Oh, the humanity, but
So how many blade designs did Choco do in Blade 2?
He did a few for like the Blade. He was like some of the Blade characters. I don't even remember all of them.
Oh shoot! It was the girls that had the eye patches. I forget their names.
Oh, you mean Praxis and Theory?
Yeah, I remember he designed those two. And
Sorry, I don't know the fancy Japanese names for them, so you might be confused, but I'm going to be going with the English ones. So Praxis and Theories. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got those. So if I didn't get the Blade, I probably don't even know or remember it exists. Anyways, the thing about these artists is that with Saito, that's kind of his style. He doesn't really draw in too many other ways. But with Choco, he's actually a really multifaceted artist. A lot of people seem to not notice that or write it off because of he's drawn like lewd stuff and really weird lewd stuff. But I'm sure you guys follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm sure like once or twice you've seen some stuff that's like, holy shit. Like I could have done without seeing that in my feed.
There was some of the stuff in emissions I wasn't expecting either.
Oh, did you get the E4?
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen it yet, so.
It doesn't really add too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I know it's more about the figures and stuff that he's worked on.
Yeah,
like
the bust figure that I don't know what's happening with that. Just
yeah, that thing's been in production forever.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like a Cosmos figure from it's not even a figure, it's like a statue.
Yeah.
From, like,
yes,
yeah.
I remember seeing like a preview of that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks impressive, but I'm like, are you gonna sell this at some point, or what's up with this?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like the equivalent of Death Stranding. It's like, yeah, it's there, it's cool.
Yeah,
I kind of want it, but I don't know what it is. It's really weird.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
They're taking their sweet time delivering a lot of the Xeno merch. Like, what do we have? We have the Pyra and Mithra statues, and then we have the
Siren.
Yes, the Siren that's coming out by Kotobukiya, which I wanted to get it, but at the same time I remembered it's Kotobukiya, and Kotobukiya kits are often very overly complicated and aren't very stable. I have the Skeld kit. I forget what it's like, the Formula GT. I forget the exact name of the Skeld, but I had their Skeld kit, and it was such a pain in the ass to build that thing. I ended up doing it. I got in a pretty nice pose, but then I knocked it over and it just shattered.
Oh no!
But I managed to build it back up, and yeah, I now have it in a less exciting pose. But yeah, those Kotobukiya kits, I know the Siren one's coming out. And I'm really skeptical about it. I'm very skeptical on how stable it's going to actually be. As somebody who does like to build these kits on occasion, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, it's Xenoblade merch, but at the same time, it might not necessarily be nice Xenoblade merch.
Are you talking exclusively about the Siren? Just in that, for that particular example? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to make sure. I haven't kept up too much with that. I know they're doing the Homura and Hikari figures. It was like one of the first things they announced.
Yeah, and they're both like $200 a pop.
Oh my! Really? I didn't pay attention to that.
And what's messed up is that like they sold really well too. I think like both of them sold out at some point.
Really?
Yeah. So they'll probably go for even more money down in the future, which is nuts.
That'll be some Xeno merch I do not get.
You know, and speaking of figures, I remember last time you guys mentioned that the only Shion figure is the one for the third episode, but that's not actually true.
Oh.
Yeah, this is weird, and I'm gonna sound like some creepy insider or some shit, but that's not the case. It's not the case because I've seen it with my own eyes, and you can too. It's out there, where there's so a lot of the developers that worked on the first Xenosaga game actually were given a figure of Shion, a pretty tall figure. It's not like small, of her, and based on the way she looks in the first game.
Right.
So those figures exist. There's like a statue of that.
Ooh.
And some people have been selling those. I saw one for like $800.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's going for money.
I'd have to.
Yeah, even on the bottom you could see it was made in 2001.
Wow.
So
I'd have to see what that looks like.
Let me see what it looks like. Wait, I have it in my hard drive. Hang on, because it's not like.
I thought you were about to say I have it. You just like whip it out and you just start looking at it. Oh yeah, here's my Shion figure.
Like, yeah, let me turn on my face cam. Here it is, guys. I got like 8 of them. They made them for me. Remember, I worked on the game. See, I gotta have it somewhere around here. Don't tell me I don't have it. Come on. I found it.
Yeah, send us a link in the chat because I kind of want to see this.
I just put it in the chat.
Awesome. Okay, let's look at this thing.
Huh.
Okay, yeah, that looks pretty nice. The face looks kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean,
But
everything else looks
otherwise,
fine, but
the mold is decent.
I mean, it's no Makos but
Right.
yeah.
I mean, at the same time, this wasn't necessarily meant for like consumer.
Oh, that's true.
So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like they're gonna make this
The body,
look super pretty.
the body and the jacket are really nice.
The jacket's nice. The legs are. It could be the shot, but the legs are kind of off to me. But whatever. We're going on a humongous tangent. So so Pierre, do you have any since we should probably start wrapping up? So Pierre, do you have any final thoughts on say Xenoblade 2, or rather where you think the series could head from here?
Well, I guess I think the issue for me is I guess I've kind of been in a position where with Xeno, again, I don't want to end on like a negative note or something, but I feel like Xeno has a bit of an identity crisis. If you look at the body of work that Takahashi has done, it's clear the types of things he likes to do, and it's clear that how he likes to have a certain directing approach. Some people, especially like the old school fans, like Xenogears and Xenosaga fans, they tend to see him. They see him as the Stanley Kubrick of JRPGs. That's how they see him. And I do think he's very inspired by Stanley Kubrick.
Right.
But he comes off as more of a. He's like the weirdest mix between Sam Raimi and J.J. Abrams. He's got some of the directing style and tastes of J.J. Abrams, but he has the self-indulgence of Sam Raimi, and that's fine. That's not a bad thing. Again, that's some people. I think that's a very on the surface level way of describing that, but I don't mind the fact that he's used the Xeno prefix constantly for different things. Like you look at like Xenosaga 1 and then look at like Xenoblade 2. they're like, it's like you thought Xenoblade X and Xenoblade 2, you thought that example was weird, but I don't mind the fact that it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like a mix where I feel like it's too similar and too different at the same time.
I can kind of see that, yeah. Like, because there's definitely similar themes, but they are so drastically different at the same time.
Yeah, like his directing style is, it's so that once he started with Xeno, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying, for me, a part of me prefers his old directing style, but I like the fact that he had a new one because, again, the whole staleness thing. I think he has a certain way of doing things, and I don't think he could do it forever. And I guess I'm at a point where I don't mind him doing, like, keeping with this kind of thing, but I do kind of hope he does something a little different, like in terms of his directing approach. He kind of did a little bit with Xenoblade X, but I don't think it played to his strengths entirely. I mean, I guess that would explain why these days I'm kind of, I think between the fandom and the games, and I guess when you know too much, it's hard to have a conversation about something. Like if you guys have a conversation with someone, just some friend you know, and you're mentioning your hobbies, do you mention Xeno like ever?
Yeah, actually. I mean, it depends on like what kind of hobbies. Like if we're talking, if I mention video games and they ask me like what some of my favorite video games, yeah, I'll probably like name drop it. Might not necessarily go in depth.
Yeah, not at first. No, I mean if it's someone I've been friends with for a while, then I'll kind of dive off the deep end. But if it's someone I don't really know that well, I put off the Xeno stuff for a while.
Yeah, I think that's closer to what. For me, it's either I put off the Xeno stuff for a while, and when I say a while, I mean never. But it depends. Like the fact that I'm here talking is like a miracle. So again, I remember when you said, everyone ever think of a Xeno podcast, and it was actually a Japanese friend of mine who was interested in that idea, but it was, for Japanese speaking audiences.
Right.
And I kind of thought about the idea. I feel like with the English speaking fandom, they tend to be more presumptuous about things. And I think that's why you kind of see like a tweet from Soraya Saga, especially like when she's writing it in Japanese, she specifically talks about foreigners spreading misinformation. And I don't blame her for that. Like I completely understand.
Yeah,
like,
I don't blame her either.
Yeah, like imagine, like I remember one day, I don't know how I came across this. I guess I'm just, maybe they're right. Maybe I am a glutton for punishment. When I came across the Giant Bomb, they had like their own little wiki, and they had one for, I think it was either for Xeno or it was for Xenogears specifically. And you'd think that it'd be straightforward and normal, and they try to stick to the sources, stick to the facts.
Right.
Like a normal article. But no, they didn't do that. Maybe it's changed by then. I don't think so. This was not long ago. They kind of mentioned how the adorably horrible, dumb rumor of how Final Fantasy VIII took away from the budget from some Xenogears. Those meanie heads at Squaresoft. Because I guess taking away money was, I guess it's like that's the kind of thing where I don't understand where that rumor came from.
Oh, I've never heard that rumor before.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, that used to be a super common one. That was like, it's a really old one. But and the rumor was that Final Fantasy VIII took money from Xenogears' project, and that's why Disc 2 looks like it was put together with duct tape.
No.
But that didn't happen. And Takahashi actually came out publicly about that. He didn't denounce that rumor. I don't even know if he knows about it because it's like a Western thing. But he specifically says that it was just a production issue. Like there were a lot of new guys. They struggled to. He's like, I had to finish that part of the story. Like I can't just.
Yeah.
I have to finish it. That's what he basically says.
Yeah, it's either
the main issue here.
Yeah, it's either.
Yeah, the main issue.
Oh, sorry.
Whenever.
Sorry, go on. Sorry.
The main issue with a lot of these things, when you say why did this feel like it got cut short or why did this seem, like it wasn't as ideal as it was as part of the game. It's usually not money. It's usually time.
Mm-hmm.
But people seem to think that money is important. I mean, if it weren't for money, those Telos Cosmos scenes, they don't happen. Not like that. They, when they're fighting, you had to pay money for stuntmen and a lot of wires to get those animations done. Those scenes were kind of expensive. But like, but people seem to think that, like, oh yeah, it's money. It's the same thing with animation. Why does this episode look like crap? Oh, they must have dumped all their money into the last episode. But that's not really it. It's just, if you're working with something weekly and you have that schedule, that's just a nightmare. Sometimes you'll be able to get away with it. Sometimes stuff is fine. But it's just gonna happen. It's all about the schedule. And money's important. And here's the biggest irony about that rumor. It's that Takahashi actually had to change the budget of the game so he could use. He basically had to hire Gainax for the animation. He had to get more money for that. That wasn't part of the original budget. So the irony here is that Square gave him more money. Didn't take anything away. So, but that's out there. And for some reason, if you tell this to certain people, if you tell them two things about the Squaresoft stuff, tell them two things to certain people, it'll be Final Fantasy VIII did not take any money away, and two, Takahashi wasn't fired from Square or Namco, or neither was anyone else. Apparently, those are controversial to say to some people, because I guess this is a fandom where and I've said this before, because I guess it bothers me, because I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, and I see these things, and it's like a train wreck that you can't stop watching. But people are very passionate about their misinformation and conjecture.
That's true.
And it's I think that's for me, that's always been, again, it sounds like I'm condemning the fandom. You're all little monsters. But I think it's always been for me. And again, most people can just play these games and have a casual, normal conversation. But for me, I'm sort of in a place where it's like almost impossible to have like an honest conversation. Again, the fact that I'm here and we managed to have this normal discussion is it's beyond the miracle.
Well, I'm thankful that you joined us, because
I even told my friend before, I was like, this is something I said I would never do, but here I am. And I think he called me like the biggest hypocrite in the world. I'm like, that's what happens when you're a Xeno fan. It just happens. Like I said, we're all little monsters. We're all terrible. I probably sound like I never shut up. I was worried I'd come on here and I'd have nothing to say. And that I would.
Sounds like quite the opposite.
Yeah, I was worried I'd come here and I've had literally nothing to say. I had a friend who was really worried. He was like, oh, I don't know if you're going to be able to touch upon all the subjects you said you were going to touch upon. I don't know if you're going to have enough time. Oh, how long have we been here? Let's say, I think it's
almost 4 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours and 39 minutes I have clocked in. That's
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so sorry that I've eaten up so much of your time.
It's okay. I'm guessing we'll probably just split this into 2, maybe 3 episodes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe we can try to make just 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And make it a little bit easier to digest.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we'll see. I'll just see if there's a good ending point for it. The problem is, this kind of sound ridiculous when I talk about this kind of stuff. When I talk about, because I guess for me, some of the greatest parts of art, I guess, you think video games are art. I'm like, I guess that doesn't matter to me. But to me, especially with these kind of games that are not really the same as a lot of other RPGs and whatnot, at least for the most part. But I guess what goes into them, like that No Hero Takami thing I described, like stuff like that, and just knowing how it, the artist behind it for me has always been something I've really enjoyed. For me, if you know the context behind that, I think it makes the actual work more enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's kind of embarrassing, but it's like I could go on about that. What we were talking about for like. Like I'm like scratching the surface. That's why I said, "Oh, I'm gonna write something," because if I just sit and talk about it, so this it's just there's like I talked about the games that I kept going back like to like old stuff. Like I kept saying we're gonna talk about Xenosaga 3, and we went back to 2 for like an hour because there were so many things for me to talk about. Like it was just I'm terrible.
Well, no. I mean, it was interesting. Like getting a new perspective on something that I played like 10 years ago, and just learning some new little bits about it, especially the way you described the scenes with Kevin and Shion in Xenosaga Episode 3. I thought that was really interesting. It just makes me kind of want to go back and just see this firsthand.
Yeah, I think he used that sort of darkening effect maybe for a few other things, but not like that. Like, yeah, I guess if I had to say one other thing about the way that game was handled was, can't believe I mentioned that game without mentioning this once. This is ridiculous. This is how you know. I'm not. People say like, what are you gonna do when you finish, the translations, or if you finish them and you're done with all your projects? It's like, dude. I just sat here and talked for 3 hours, and I think I talked about 5% of what I know or what I have to say.
Oh gosh!
Like you never run out of things to say. Like I'm never gonna run out of stuff to talk about, even though I never talk about it that much on like on my social media or anything. It's just it just kind of take a drink, people, for how many times I've said it is what it is for. But when I wanted to think about what I had to say. I actually don't do that. No, just crack open a cold one for Cherenkov and we'll be good.
Now I want to do that too.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll put that one on like Twitter, like ahead of time. Be like, all right, this is what the podcast is like. This is what you have to look forward to. It's me drinking in the middle of talking about this.
Cold one for Cherenkov. All right.
Who knows? Maybe it's not alcohol. You never know.
It's true.
But like the whole, pure only likes Xenogears and the first Xenosaga thing, I don't have to answer that. I mean, you can believe whatever you want. Maybe I hate them all. Maybe I don't like any of them. Maybe I just, because I guess I have nothing nice to say.
I mean, you did spell sadist in Xenosaga Freaks, so.
Yeah, and I was awarded for it. So what does that say about Monolith? I was awarded points.
All right. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Yeah.
If you don't stop now, it'll just keep going for like 6 hours.
So Tyler, should we yell Twitter handles or anything like that?
Oh yeah.
Well,
or anything you want to plug?
Oh, is it just me? Am I just plugging my stuff? Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if anybody has stuff to plug, then we can plug it.
All right. Let's have the guest go first. Pure.
Okay. Well, my tag is at Burning Aegis. You've probably seen me. You probably thought I was kind of a jerk. But yeah, Burning Aegis. I'm Burning Aegis everywhere. So.
I've enjoyed your posts. Especially your sometimes your cat posts sometimes.
and the funny part is, again, on the whole rambling subject, I said I can't believe I went in Xenosaga 3 for that long without saying anything, and then I never actually said I was going to say. That's how you know it's just I'm not going to say it. Forget it. It was just all I was going to say was the game has a totally different storyboard artist from the first two. That's all I was going to say, and he did a really good job. That's all you need to know. I think he's really dynamic. There you go. Done. I'm not saying anymore because I'll be here forever.
All right. Well, I am Cosmos Chaos on Twitter. That's kind of how you'll mostly find me, I guess. I'm not really on anything else. Well, I am, but that's going to be the most important thing about me. And Justin?
At JustGiyu. I can guarantee you most of you will not be able to spell my name right. So you should probably look at the Twitter handle in the description. I'm sure Tyler will write that down.
All right. Well, thanks to both of you for joining me today. It was very interesting and educational experience today. So I appreciate
Yeah, I actually learned a lot, which is crazy.
All right, well, if you like this sort of thing, which I, again, will admit, I guess I never sat and opened up like this about it, like, publicly. Like, I don't think I've ever, again, I'll go on my, like, oh, this guy did this thing in this game, and on Twitter, just very brief. But, yeah, it's kind of weird to, especially, again, it probably sounds weird to hear me say that, but like, oh yeah, it's to say it in English. It's even weirder. So I actually, one of the things I kept doing before today was I kept trying to remember what's this thing in English, because I'm not used to the English versions anymore. But it was really nice. I was always, when you came up with the idea for this, I was a little nervous.
Oh.
But yeah, I was nervous because I was like, and not necessarily me getting on, but nervous that like, oh, this is gonna be, I'm gonna listen to this and I'm gonna be, I'm not gonna enjoy myself in any way. But it was nice, kind of laid back, and I was happy to be on, and that's something I didn't think I'd be saying about something like this 2 months ago. So.
All right, yeah, I'm glad you came on. I really appreciate you stopping by. So. All right, well, I think next time, this is going to be basically a 2-part episode, but the next topic after that, we're actually going to discuss Shion Uzuki and kind of go into how she's not the most liked protagonist of the Xeno series, and kind of delve deep and try to defend her, I guess, or try to at least. And then after that, we'll see what happens. If anybody has any suggestions on future topics, let us know on Twitter. That'd be the best place. But yeah, this has been the XenoChat, and thank you very much for joining us today.